welcome to today's show. My name is John. As always, you can subscribe to the show on iTunes or follow the links to social media in the podcast show notes. So please subscribe when you're finished listening. You can also go to snarkymoviereviews.com to read notes, bios, and other random movie thoughts. Today's movie is Battle for the Planet of the Apes, 1973. It is the fifth and final of the original Planet of the Apes series. And, in my humble opinion, it is by far the worst. But it's still not bad. We have a number of show veterans and a couple of big stars to report on, so let's get going. Actors.
Right, and I'm a Shakespearean actor.
Roddy McDowall continued his role as Caesar from the previous movie and was shown as Cornelius in clips from earlier movies. McDowall was first covered in episode 118, Planet of the Apes, 1968. Natalie Trundy reprised her role as Chimp Lisa from the previous movie. Trundy was covered in episode 119, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, 1970. Claude Akins, with his rough voice, took on the role of Guerrilla General Aldo. Akins was covered in episode 110, The Caine Mutiny, 1954. Severin Darden returned as Culp, but this time he was the governor. Darden was covered in episode 36, Back to School, 1986. Paul Williams played super smart orangutan Virgil. Williams was born in 1940 in Nebraska. As an adult, Williams stood 5'2". He is an amazing songwriter, entertainer, and actor. Some of the songs he has written include We've Only Just Begun, Rainy Days and Mondays, Evergreen, Just an Old-Fashioned Love Song, Rainbow Connection, Out in the Country, and Family of Man. Williams is in the American Songwriter Hall of Fame and has won an Oscar, a Grammy, and a Golden Globe Award. Williams wrote songs for Cinderella Liberty, 1973, and Phantom of the Paradise, 1974. He was a music supervisor for A Star is Born, 1976. He won the Oscar for the Best Song for Evergreen in 1976, and he received 2 nominations for The Muppet Movie, 1979. Williams also wrote music for Bugsy Malone, 1976, The Secret of NIMH, 1982, The End, 1978, Rocky IV, 1985, Ishtar, 1987, either the best or the worst movie ever, depending on how you turn, and The Sum of All Fears, 2002. With all that, he may be best known for playing Little Enos in Smokey and the Bandit, 1977, 1980, and 1983. He was in Frog, 1987, Solar Crisis, 1990, The Doors, 1991, Frogs, ! 1993, and Headless Body in Topless Bar, 1995. Of course, he was Virgil in Battle for the Planet of the Apes, 1973. He has numerous other movies and television roles, voiceover work, and more music. He has also worked extensively with drug addiction and treatment programs. Is he still active? He has a role in Baby Driver 2017, so I would say yes. John Huston played the role of orangutan, lawgiver, and narrator. Actor and director John Huston was born in Missouri in 1906. It would not be controversial to say that Huston is one of the greatest American directors. In 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die, 5th edition, edited by Stephen Schneider, Huston had 9 movies, listed as follows: The Maltese Falcon, 1941, San Pietro, 1945, The Treasure of Sierra Madre, 1948, The Asphalt Jungle, 1950, The African Queen, 1951, Beat the Devil, 1953, Fat City, 1972, Prizzi's Honor, 1985, and The Dead, 1987. I don't know why Beat the Devil, 1953 was on this list. Whether it was serious or a spoof, it was still horrible. Huston was the son of legendary actor Walter Huston. It is said that John began acting in vaudeville with his father at the age of 3. John was 14 when his parents divorced. He spent his youth traveling with his actor father and reporter mother. Huston was a sickly child, but by 14 he started boxing and later won the Amateur Lightweight Boxing Championship of California. Huston appeared on Broadway in 1925. Huston escaped to Mexico, leaving behind work and a wife, where he served in the cavalry for a time. He returned to New York and worked as a journalist before skipping off to Europe. As a result of his screenwriting, he had appeared in some films. Huston returned to the U.S. in 1933. He worked as a screenwriter for Warner Brothers, and eventually he was given the job of screenwriter and director for The Maltese Falcon 1941. This movie made Humphrey Bogart a superstar, and the director gave a role to his father, Walter Huston. Huston continued to screenwrite and directed in This Is Our Life 1942 and Across the Pacific 1942. Huston served in World War II and made government films. Following the war, he married his third wife, Evelyn Keyes. Evelyn Keyes was discussed in episode 38, 99 River Street, 1953. She is the only one of John Huston's 5 wives that I will mention because she told him she or the pet monkey would have to leave, and Huston said, "It's you." Huston knocked it out of the park again with Humphrey Bogart and his father, Walter Huston, in The Treasure of the Sierra Madres, 1948. Walter received an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, and John won for both the screenplay and the directing. John also cast himself in the movie. John Huston's career was in high gear, and the movies that followed include Key Largo 1948, The Asphalt Jungle 1950, The African Queen 1951, The Red Badge of Courage 1951, Moulin Rouge 1952, Moby Dick 1956, The Misfits 1961, The Night of the Iguana 1964, The Bible in the Beginning 1966, Casino Royale 1967, The Man Who Would Be King 1975, Annie 1982, and Prizzi's Honor 1985. During this time, Huston was brave enough to help form a group called the Committee for the First Amendment in 1947, which stood up to the un-American activities of the House Un-American Activities Committee. In 1964, Huston moved to Ireland but kept working, including some great acting roles like in Otto Preminger's The Cardinal, 1963, Chinatown, 1974, and my personal favorite, The Wind and the Lion, 1975, where he played advisor to the president. He also starred in some real dogs like Candy, 1968, and Myra Breckenridge, 1970. Huston's personal life is often compared to men like Ernest Hemingway. Clint Eastwood starred in White Hunter, Black Heart, 1990, which is a semi-autobiographical story of an African elephant hunting adventure Huston took while filming The African Queen, 1951. Huston died at the age of 81 in 1987. Some of Huston's achievements include directing a father and a daughter, Angelica Huston, to an Oscar. He was part of the first father-son duo to win Oscars for the same film for The Treasure of the Sierra Madres, 1948. He directed 15 different actors to Oscars. Finally, he was voted the 13th greatest director of all time by Entertainment Weekly. Story.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
This movie begins with the lawgiver, John Huston, telling the story of the planet of the apes. The date is AD 2670 and the location is North America. The lawgiver says evil apes and men defied God and made war.
In the beginning, God created beast and man so that both might live in friendship and share dominion over a world at peace. But in the fullness of time, evil men betrayed God's trust.
He says Caesar was a savior, and then they show some clips from Escape where Cornelius and Zira are killed and the baby Caesar escapes. They then show how Caesar led the revolution and conquest. Following the nuclear war, Caesar led a small group of apes and humans away from the city to start a new life. It has been more than a decade since the group of apes and humans decided to live together. A gorilla, General Aldo, Claude Akins, is out riding a horse when he should be in school. Aldo rides through the village where humans and apes are working, but it seems humans may be working a little harder and the gorillas treat the humans with contempt. Aldo helps with a wagon and shows his superior strength to the humans. Aldo gets snotty when anyone fails to call him General. Young chimps, orangutans, and gorillas are at school being taught by Abe, Noah Keene. When Aldo arrives late, the human teacher is hard on him. The star pupil is Chimp, Cornelius, Bobby Porter, the son of Caesar, Roddy McDowell, and Lisa, Natalie Trundy. The main message at the school is, Ape shall never kill ape. The situation at the school spirals downward until Abe screams, "No, Aldo, no!"
With respect, General Aldo, this is barely legible and will have to be written again. Your capital A leans over like a tent in a high wind. And your capital K
Ape shall never kill Abe.
No, Aldo, no!
It is forbidden for humans to say no to apes, as that is the word they were electrically taught to fear in Conquest. Orangutan Virgil, Paul Williams, is trying to teach the theory of relativity to some other ape. He sees what is happening at the school and helps Abe escape as the gorillas destroy the school and chase the teacher. Caesar stops Aldo from locking Abe in the corral, but Aldo refuses to fix the school as he is ordered. Virgil stands up and explains that Abe was provoked.
Teacher only reverted to type under provocation. He spoke like a slave master in the old days of our servitude when we were conditioned to mechanical obedience. He uttered a negative imperative.
Could you put that into words which even Caesar could understand?
He said, "No, Aldo, no."
African-American Bruce McDonald, Austin Stoker, the brother of McDonald from Conquest, tells Caesar that he is worried about Aldo attacking apes as well as humans. Aldo tries to ride Caesar down and McDonald pulls him out of the way. Later, McDonald makes a dig that the apes are their masters. Caesar regrets that he does not remember his parents.
Now that apes are at the helm, Earth will sail safely through space until the end of time. And Virgil says, time has no end. So you see, I cannot believe you.
Would you believe it if you heard it from the lips of your own parents?
McDonald says there should be tapes of his parents in the bunker by the command center where his brother used to work. He believes that the future apes may tell of Earth's destruction. Since the city is radioactive, they will have to consult with Virgil. Lisa is worried that Caesar is going to the city. Young Cornelius asks his father to bring him nuts for his pet squirrel. Caesar, Virgil, and McDonald go to Mandemus, Lou Ayres, to get weapons from the armory. They get 3 machine guns, a pistol, and a Geiger counter.
A Geiger counter.
I mean, if we knew for a fact there was an afterlife, and that the afterlife was bliss eternal, we'd all commit suicide in order to be able to enjoy it.
Pistols.
To remove smaller obstacles?
It's a 3-day journey. With Caesar's permission, McDonald may want to shoot, cook, and eat a rabbit.
But who needs 3 pistols to shoot 1 rabbit?
The trio head off to the Forbidden City. Of course, it's in the Forbidden Zone, and the 3-day trip is pretty crappy. They make it to the Melted City. The trio goes underground as the counter clicks, and they make it to the archives. In another part of the city, Governor Culp, Severin Darden, and other humans are working and suffering from the effects of radiation. Culp was the chief of the secret police and worked for Governor Breck in Conquest. The ape-human trio activate an alarm and the humans find out that they are in the archives. Culp recognizes Caesar when he sees him on the security camera.
That's Caesar. Come back to reconquer his kingdom. Doesn't he know that the bomb did that?
The trio find the Presidential Commission tapes and the tape player works fine. Clips from Conquest are shown. Culp sends his men to capture or wound the trio. One mutant human mentions it will break a 12-year truce.
Resist, you may shoot. But shoot to maim. We want them alive for interrogation.
If we shoot, we break 12 years of peace. Yes, it has been rather boring, hasn't it?
Virgil tells Caesar that the tape he sees are only one future, and he uses the same highway lane analogy that Dr. Hasseline used. When the trio sees the camera move, they shoot it out. The humans search for the trio as the groups look for another way out of the underground. The humans jump the trio, but they get away. There is a chase through the tunnels, but finally Caesar uses a fire hose to stop the humans. Culp screams manically for his people to kill the trio. Although there is a lot of gunfire, the trio escapes and heads home. Culp chooses men out for letting the trio escape. Culp sends out search parties to find out where the trio went. Back at Ape City, Caesar has another conflict with Aldo. Lisa catches Cornelius playing war with a human and he gets chewed out. The human patrol makes it to Ape City and sees Caesar holding a council. When Abe, McDonald, and the other humans show up to the meeting, Aldo objects and takes the gorillas away. Some of Culp's men beg for peace. The others report that there is food and that the apes are making plans for war. Lisa asks Caesar why he plans to make war on humans. Caesar thinks all the mutated humans are mad. Naturally, Culp feels the same way about the apes. Governor Culp mobilizes his semi-mechanized army, including a school bus, and heads to Ape City. Culp is rocking a skull cap and red goggles. This could be all the rage in Austin. Cornelius' pet squirrel makes a break and the young chimp follows, trying to catch him. Cornelius stumbles into a guerrilla rally where they are talking about getting guns and taking power. Cornelius climbs a tree to get a better view. He hears that they plan on making war against all humans, then they will take on Caesar.
With guns, we will smash the humans! All humans! And then we will smash Caesar!
The apes see Cornelius in the tree, and Aldo hacks the branch he is on until the young chimp falls to the ground. Lisa finds her young son injured and unconscious on the ground. Aldo and the gorillas have already fled. In the morning, McDonald finds the gorillas' fire pit and sees that the branch has been hacked. The apes and human medical staff cannot help Cornelius. On the edge of the Forbidden Zone, a guerrilla scouting party attacks and kills one of Governor Culp's men. Culp's men fire a recoilless rifle at the guerrillas, killing one. McDonald tells Virgil how Cornelius was injured. About this time, the surviving guerrilla from the scouting party reports to Aldo. Aldo calls for a council and says the attack was unprovoked. Aldo orders all humans locked in the corral and the guerrillas roughly round them up.
Take the humans out. Lock them all in a corral.
Aldo! You can't do this! You're acting against Caesar's orders!
Caesar is not here.
The guerrillas raid Mandemus's armory and take all of the guns. Cornelius is standing over his injured son. Virgil finally makes it to Caesar's house and warns him about the guerrillas' activity. Just before he dies, Caesar tells his father that they hurt him. Culp deploys his forces outside of Ape City and gets ready to attack the barricade built by the guerrillas.
Well, there it is. Ape City. When we leave, I don't want to see one tree left standing, 2 pieces of wood nailed together, or anything left alive. I want it to look like that city we came from.
Virgil tells Caesar what he knows, and they head to the corral and see the imprisoned humans being guarded by armed guerrillas. Caesar confronts the guerrillas and orders them to release the humans. However, the first shots from Culp's army hit the city. The mutant army attacks as mortars fire heavy explosive, HE, while the main body fires recoilless rifles and heavy machine guns. The guerrillas mount horses for a cavalry attack. Caesar orders all the apes to man the barricade. The HE mortar fire is taking a heavy toll on the apes. Both Virgil and Caesar are firing from behind the barricade, although neither species usually fights. The mortars start laying down a smokescreen as the mutants make their assault into the city. With no sign of Aldo and the cavalry, Caesar orders the defenders of the barricade to fall back. The apes do a great job of falling back under fire. Very professional. They would have gotten an A at West Point. The mutants drive their vehicles through the barricade. When the humans make it to the center of Ape City, all of the apes appear to be dead. Caesar groans and is captured. Culp recognizes him as Caesar and gives him a long speech about re-enslaving the apes. Classic James Bond villain mistake. Culp should have just shot him in the face.
Caesar, your people weakened our city by rebelling against your human masters. But we who survive will create a new race. And you and yours will be brought low. And now Ape City is about to lose its king.
Lisa screams "No, Culp" from her house, and Virgil throws a hand grenade, as does another chimp. Caesar yells, "Now, fight like apes!"
Now, fight like apes!
What appear to be dead apes jump up and start fighting the mutant humans. The mutants are quickly subdued in the paw-to-hand fighting that takes place. Caesar orders no killing, only capture. Culp and a few of his men escape in a school bus. Having watched the battle from a hilltop, Aldo and his cavalry ride down and kill the escaping humans. Back in the village, Caesar is being hailed by apes of all species that fought on the barricades. He orders that all the humans be released.
Let the humans go, Virgil. All of them.
No!
Aldo rides in and says he is in charge and orders his guerrillas to kill the humans.
They stay. Aldo says what we do now.
Caesar steps between the gorillas and the humans. Virgil says Ape has never killed Ape, let alone an ape child.
Aldo has killed an ape child. The branch did not break. It was cut with a sword.
He further tells how Aldo murdered the child. This turns the entire crowd against Aldo. All the apes start chanting, "Ape has killed ape! Ape has killed ape!" To get away, Aldo climbs a tree, and everyone knows gorillas don't brachiate. Caesar climbs after Aldo. The two begin a fight on a branch, and Aldo falls to his death.
Should one murder be avenged by another?
Only the future can tell. So let us start building it.
They free the humans, but MacDonald demands that they are given complete freedom.
If we appear to be lacking in gratitude, Caesar, what have we to be grateful for? If you mean to set us free, then free us completely.
Caesar says the human way is death.
Respecting each other, living together with love.
Love. The human way is violence and death.
However, Virgil reminds him that Aldo wasn't human.
Aldo wasn't human. Was he, Caesar?
Virgil, you are a good and wise ape.
The humans and apes decide to rebuild together as equals. Mandemus gets all of the guns returned to the armory. Speaking 600 years in the future, 2670, the lawgiver tells of the peace humans and apes have had for that time. A small black girl asks what the future holds. The lawgiver replies, "Perhaps only the dead know the future."
Lawgiver, who knows about the future?
Perhaps only the dead.
They pull back to a statue of Caesar, and he has a single tear coming out of one eye. In the 1970s, there was a lot of one eye crying. The movie changed the future that was seen in Planet of the Apes 1968. A little more of a kumbaya ending for evolving senses. The main issue I have with this movie is that the previous 4 movies dealt with the issue of racism and other issues of the time. This final movie was made to make everyone feel good, and that is why the humans and the apes were living together. World famous short summary: don't tell them your plan, get a gun and shoot them in the face. I hope you enjoyed today's show. You can find connections to social media and email on my site at snarkymoviereviews.com. There are links in the podcast show notes as well. Remember, this show is completely free and independent. All that I ask is that you jump over to iTunes and give me a review. It really helps the show get found. Beware the Moors.